Good morning and happy Sunday. Happy Father's Day for those of you who celebrate. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom for today. And today, I know some of you have been remembering what we're doing today, and others of you are going to be hopefully pleasantly surprised. Good morning, Abigail. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you are here. Looks like someone else is here, but your name isn't rolling, but welcome. And we'll give it a minute for everyone to pop in, but in the interim, I will give you a heads up on what we're doing today. Good morning, Nancy. Welcome. And help us get set for this. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. Glad you're here. Miss Piggy and Kermit. Good. So, good morning, Joe Neal. Welcome, welcome. And Beth, hello, hello. Lots of people popping on this morning. I'm thinking either it's because I started at 6:13, which Spirit guided me that the 13 needed to be in there, so cool. Or you're all excited about us doing the shadow play reading today. So let me explain what that is first, and we'll do some grounding, and then I'm going to give a little bit of background to set up the work we're going to do, and then we'll jump in. So our card deck for today is the Wild Harmonic Oracle deck by Gabriel J. Marihugh. And as I was going back in the book, because I wanted to pick out a little bit of a reference to help all of us center and ground in the work we're going to do today, I was finding the spot where he was talking about kind of handing this creation of his, the Wild Harmonic Oracle deck, over to all of us to utilize. So, and I'm also kind of getting a hit that if you would like a specific shadow play reading for yourself with me, I may set that up as a separate thing that you can sign up for and do. I have to figure out what a fair energetic exchange would be for that, but I'll let Spirit guide that, right? So let's ground first. So feet flat on the floor. I want you to breathe in deeply. Exhale, sending your roots deep into Mother Earth. The roots through the soles of your feet, down into Mother Earth, and right out of the base of your spine, your root chakra, grounding you into Mother Earth with every exhale. Just feeling really centered, really solid, really grounded. And then we're going to open the crown chakra and draw in energy from the divine. This is going to be divinely led today. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more. In through the nose, out through the mouth. So it's almost like we're the energetic hollow reed between the divine and Mother Earth. We're the connecting point. Okay? So this reading we're going to do today is called the shadow play reading. And right now, a lot of shadow stuff is coming up for us to look at and address. And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's merely the things that we saw fit, typically subconsciously, to put away because they were uncomfortable in some way. So yeah, I'm just not going to look at that for a while. Here's our time. Here's our time to look at this. So first, I'll show you the cover of the deck, the one with all the butterflies. And I want to just read a little part here about the way that he set up this card deck and how he perceives it. And then I'll explain the specific reading we're doing. So he talks about elemental ascension. This deck contains a set of 65 cards. 64 of the cards each represent a relationship between two elements and a way of playing with that relationship within your own consciousness. The elements chosen for this deck are earth, water, fire, air, spirit, celestial, dimensional, and a pseudo-element he calls shadow. The elemental path represents a sort of progression from earth to dimensional, heaven, spirit, guidance, whatever, which he calls ascension, and back again, which he calls embodiment. And if any of you have worked with energy workers at any point, doing Reiki, whatever, oftentimes they'll talk about how important it is for us human beings doing an earth walk to embody this stuff, bring it into our bodies, let it reside within us. I will tell you, historically, I was terrible at that. And Bobby Silverstone, when she and I worked together, she's going, Bon, you got to get grounded here. Come on, get, ground. And yeah, so that's been a path for me personally, is doing that grounding work. Really, truly walking Mother Earth. Much more fun sailing around up in the cosmos, but here we are. So, the elemental path representing a sort of progression from earth to dimensional, which he calls ascension, and back again, which he calls embodiment. While shadow is not an element per se, it is treated as one as such in deriving the relationships that shadow, the unconscious, has with each of the elements. The shadow cards represent where energies have become discordant, unhealthy, or otherwise problematic. So these times are times that are ripe for us to look at this. They can be included in the deck with the other cards and addressed as they are drawn. I find it also useful to separate them out and only draw upon them when indicated to do so. So then he says, see the shadow play readings, and that's what we're going to be doing. The 65th card in the deck, for those of you who remember that I said there were 65 cards and he's now talked about 64 of them, the 65th card, the presence of absence, plays the role of a sort of joker in the deck. So now for the specific reading, I will read through this, and I've already set up part of this. This reading style, the shadow play readings, is used when we already know we are dealing with a shadow energy in our life. Look at our times. There's shadow energy all over the place. So the way I set the intention for this particular reading is that it be for the benefit of our practical rebels. Can we expand it beyond our practical rebels? Absolutely. So as within, so without. So you will be seeing how this reading resonates for you as an individual, but we're also going to be seeing how it resonates for us as the practical rebels and beyond that, as humanity. Okay? He says, perhaps we know something of it already, meaning that shadow energy that's operating in our lives right now, but that is not necessary in order to proceed. The aim of this reading is to first discern the parts of ourself, our experience, our situation that are out of touch with each other because of the presence of this shadow. Next, it reveals the nature of the shadow that is currently at play and keeping that connection from happening. And lastly, if desired or needed, it then relays a remedy for the shadow to help you get back into wholeness, to help us get back into wholeness. So, and the reason he says desired, needed is oftentimes as we work through the first two cards and the shadow card, it becomes obvious what we need to do in order to rectify the situation. If it isn't obvious, then we pull the extra card. So, for this reading, we remove the 15 shadow cards. So I've already separated them out, and then here's the remainder of the deck, and we'll be pulling from both decks as we go. Once done, we shuffle each deck, which I did, and open the reading however we see fit. So let's take a breath, grounding into Mother Earth. We call in all light beings to guide this reading. We look forward to the wisdom and the knowledge that comes to us from this reading. So now what we're going to, the decks are already shuffled. From the main deck, what I'm going to do, I got to find, let's see here, something heavy enough to hold the book open. And I'm taking the main deck here. I'm going to shuffle a little more. And we're going to look for a specific card, and then we're going to pull that card and the cards that precede it and follow it. So the card that we're looking for is Earth of Water, Shadow Guardian. Now I want to show you something too. The shadow cards have a black ring around them. The other cards have a white ring around them. So when you're sorting out, you can do it easily. I just figured that out. I've done about, 5 shadow readings, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, oh, the rest of the cards are white around the rim. The shadow cards are black around the rim. Duh. So we are looking for Earth of Water, Shadow Guardian. And then I'll show you which ones end up on each side of that. Earth of Water, Shadow Guardian. So let me show you that picture first. So that's our middle card. Put these up. This one comes first. This one is second, and then our third card. So let me move these out of my way. So I've got there, and let's put our shadow up here. So in the middle is the Earth of Water, Shadow Guardian, and then to the left of that is Celestial of Celestial, Immaculate Imperfection. Immaculate Imperfection. And I'll be reading that one to you shortly. And Dimensional of Water, Holistic Synergy. So what it's saying is this immaculate imperfection and this holistic synergy are not connecting because there's a shadow interfering at the moment. So let me read both of those cards to you. And what I want you to notice, just pay attention to how you feel as I'm reading what these cards represent. And if there's any aspect that jumps out at you, either write it down or put it in our feed, because how each of us perceives this is going to be slightly different. And what I love doing when I did this with my coffee group was each person brought a little different perspective to the reading, which greatly enhanced the reading itself. So I'm going to mark my page here so I can come back here, and let me read that part to you. The cards on the right and left now represent the two aspects of the situation that are out of touch with each other because of the presence of the shadow. Read the meanings of these and contemplate them as you will, grounding this reading. So our first one is Celestial of Celestial. And honestly, I think that was one of the cards that for the coffee group came up. So ain't that interesting? There's Dimensional, so I think the Celestial is just before that. Yes, Celestial of Celestial. So again, I'll hold the card up so you can see it. This is the one we're reading about. Immaculate Imperfection. Celestial of Celestial. As the celestial realms meet themselves, so all the cards start this way, where it's the one aspect meeting the other aspect. As the celestial realms meet themselves, they come to realize that variety, imperfection, is the greater perfection than otherwise. So embracing imperfection. As humans, we are imperfect. Divinely perfect, but humanly imperfect, okay? So here's the meditation part. The beauty of imperfection, accepting things as they are, opening to opportunities, and being easy on oneself. Can we already get a sense of where we're in shadow with that? A card of finding balance in imbalance, depth within shallows, and light within darkness. Think about that in terms of what's going on in our world right now, finding the light in darkness. It reminds me to write nothing off as invalid, for all is a part of this grand unfolding. There is no symmetry in life other than that which we may find temporarily. Forces great and small push and pull on me from all directions, never giving me a sense of perfect center. So I find a perfect center everywhere, equally within the turmoil as within the calm. How many of us say things like, well, when this is fixed, I'll be happy. When that changes, I'll be happy. When he or she does this or that, I'll be happy. Always putting it off and always linking it on external things. This is about I am happy regardless of what's going on around me. I feel joy regardless of what's going on around me. So here's your inquiry question. If one of you want to put this in the feed, that would be fabulous. How can I let go of my ideas of perfection in order to open to an even deeper balance? How can I let go of my ideas of perfection in order to open to an even deeper balance? So that's the gist of the first card. Any questions or thoughts on that? Put them in the feed. We can always come back to it. So that's the first one. Then our second one, and again, these two are at odds with each other at the moment, is Dimensional of Water. That should be back here a little bit. No, let's see. Dimensional of Water. Let me show you that one. There. Holistic synergy. As the energies of the dimensional expanse embody into the flowing feeling of life, an opening into completion arises. Doesn't it feel like some things are coming to an end? They're done. It's time for them to complete. Here's the meditation part. Empowerment moving to reinforce itself. A quickening of the journey as the channels are opened. And the amazing grace of life as a living choice. This card points me into the opening within me that creates the opening in the world. Oof, how's that? This card points me into the opening within me that creates the opening in the world. It reminds me that if I cannot do powerful things, to instead do whatever I am doing with power. I am seeing life from simplicity, one point of perspective. What I am seeing is infinite complexity. Embracing both, I learn to feel the ebbs and flows of where I am at. With that knowledge, I can find the point to enter and ride the wave. And then the inquiry question for this one is, what part of myself needs integration in order to bring greater ability to my experience? Good morning, Barb. Glad you're here. What part of myself needs integration in order to bring greater ability to my experience? And again, this is the part, this holistic synergy, this is the part that is not connecting with that immaculate imperfection. When we embrace that, and we've got a shadow that's in the way. So now what we're going to do, those are the two parts that need to be brought together. Now what we're going to do, get my little sticky note out of the way there. We're going to draw the shadow card that represents what's in the way between these two coming together and functioning as a synergistic duo. Okay? Okay. I think it's this one. Water of shadow cast about. Water of shadow cast about. So this is the shadow energy that's coming between the integration of those other two, the holistic synergy and the immaculate imperfection. So let's read about that. And again, you can be listening to this part with the wisdom of, there we go. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you putting that up. And again, you may want to go back and re-watch this and jot some notes, etc. Because this was specifically intended for our Practical Rebels group. Water of shadow, cast about. Water of shadow, cast about. And let me show you the picture again. As the flowing feeling of life falls into denial, what are we pretending not to know? One's sense of valid reference is lost. So casting about, not grounded, but flailing. So here's the meditation. Losing ground or navigation points, and the inability to stay centered in the seemingly ceaseless arising of challenge. Spot on, right? Does this not nail it? Every time I open Facebook to do this, and I'm not on there much, I do this. Thank you, Abigail. I appreciate you putting that up. It's one shitty story after another. The assassinations in Minnesota. I'm in Wisconsin. Can we hit any closer to home here? Well, I'm sure we can. But we need to be paying attention. And that doesn't mean getting mired in ungroundedness and flailing about like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. More like we're seeing things spinning out of control, and we're seeing things, things not healthy. Here's why. And so let's read and see. The answers again are integrated into this information. So listen with the intuitive part of your ear. How addressing this shadow will bring those other aspects together, okay? Losing ground or navigation points, and the inability to stay centered in the seemingly ceaseless arising of challenge. This card is an indication of losing oneself to the tumbling of the waves. So I'll show you that again. Within this shadow, one becomes lost within themselves, feeling confronted on so many fronts with difficulty that they forget what they are made of. And there was a beautiful post from, let me think, who was that one from? Actually, it was an email, and it was an offering for a class. It was from Rebecca Campbell. There we go. And she was referencing Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift taking back her power, as Rebecca said it, remembering who she is, and buying back her first 6 albums. All of the rights to her first 6 albums. Remembering who she is, taking action, stepping into her power and authority, her sovereignty as her, right? So that's what we are being called to do here. So right there's one of our answers. Stepping into the sovereignty of who we are. What are we being called to do, including remembering who we are? That's a huge piece. Remembering who we are. Not who someone tells you you are. Not who society insists that you are. Not who the powers that be try to force you to be. But who you truly are. If all of us did just that, everything would change. So, we get to decide for ourselves. So, let's see what else we got here. So I'm going to read that sentence again because it's powerful. And interesting, Joneel, your name just popped up. So listen deeply, dear. Within this shadow, one becomes lost within themselves, feeling confronted on so many fronts with difficulty that they forget what they are made of. Sometimes that's setting boundaries. Absolutely true. As the storm has its way with me, I am all too easily overtaken internally by the torrents. I begin to respond by attempting to flee from it, but there is nowhere else but here. And my failed attempts only stir me into deeper confusion and self-doubt. So the inquiry question for this one is, how do I allow myself to be ungrounded and directionless? And it might be because there's a call to action in there that you're highly uncertain about. So I'm certainly facing that right now. Yes, remembering who we are. Yes, 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 yes. It's, again, paying attention. What am I pretending not to know? And yesterday, in terms of boundaries, I set down some heavy boundaries with one particular group. And the Midwest nice part of me, the trained to be a nice girl part of me, was like shrieking, you can't say that and you can't say that that way. I did. Until and unless X is the case, I'm not willing to put my name on this thing. So you all decide if you're going to set some boundaries and stick to them. Good morning, Gwen. None of this waffling stuff. Not, yes, you can, no, you can't, yes, you can. No, 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 no. You make it clear where you stand, and then I will operate from there. But I'm not going to do this waffling, one day it is, one day it isn't stuff anymore. So, how do I allow myself to be ungrounded and directionless? So, check in with yourself. Do you feel like the information that you've gotten, there's a clear answer for you in terms of what needs to be done to correct this disconnection between these two? Okay? So, the immaculate imperfection and the holistic synergy to bring them together so they operate together. What do you need to do to address this cast about, ungrounded, tilting at windmills, flailing against the machine, grabbing any old solution and throwing it up to see if it sticks to the wall behavior? Because this is not going to serve you. Do we feel like we need to pull a card that adds more information about what we need to do, beyond the we need to be grounded, beyond the we need to remember who we are, beyond the we need to act on who we are, speak our truth, set boundaries, etc.? Put in the feed if you feel like we need the additional card that gives more guidance in terms of what to do. Do, 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 do. Let me know if it feels complete for you, or let me know if you feel like we need that extra card. Let's see what we get here. I had to grab a drink anyway. That was a lot of talking. There are 5 of you on here at the moment. 5 or 6. It was just 6. So give me a heads up. Are we good? Or do we need more? Going once? Going twice? Sold! All right, so we know what it is we need to do. Are you ready to go do that? Are you ready to claim your sovereignty? Are you ready to really get in touch with who you are? Yesterday, I did this amazing breath work that I found on, oh, another card can't hurt. All right, so we can do that. I found this amazing breath work on YouTube, and it was really powerful. So, if I remember, Barb says too, pull another card. All right. So this card comes from the other part of the deck, the element cards. So yes. We'll see what this gives us. Can you tell I can't do two things at once? Oh, Abigail says yes too. Okay, so yesterday, the breath work was so powerful. It was a 40-minute breath work. You're laying down, you're just focusing on the breathing. There's some aspects of the breathing that were a little difficult for me. Like there were several times where you held your breath for a minute and a half. I can't make it for a minute and a half. I could do about 45 seconds, so then I'd take a little breath and then go back into the hold. But it was a very centering, peaceful, grounding breath work. So if I can remember, I'll put that link in here also so some of you can enjoy that as well. All right, so this is more guidance on how to address this disconnect that we're currently experiencing. Oh, fun, fun, fun. Spirit of Celestial, dream speaking. Dream speaking. All right, so let's find that one. There. Oh, interesting. It's the card that comes in the deck right before this card. So, Spirit of Celestial. And again, this is for additional guidance as to how we can bring the Immaculate Imperfection and the holistic synergy together. Spirit of Celestial, dream speaking. As the spirit of creativity ascends to energize the celestial realms, it nurtures the joy of the story. What story are you telling yourself? The joy of the story and the living telling of one's own great tale. Have you made your story great? Have you made it a tale for all life? Most of us tell a diminished story. So, time to start telling your great adventure of life story. Meditation. Storytelling. Bringing experience to bear. Maturity. Expression through art, writing, music, and the transmission of wisdom. If you have grandchildren, be talking to them about this stuff. Be talking to them about this stuff. This card is about sharing our wealth. Not just financial wealth, our wealth of knowledge and wisdom and years of experience. This card is about sharing our wealth, which of course can mean we first must know it ourselves. So when Rebecca Campbell was talking about Taylor Swift knowing herself, knowing her story, knowing her value, connected to herself, right? That's what we're talking about. We must first know it ourselves. Perhaps we discover it in the sharing. So as you're sharing who you are, your wisdom, your knowledge, etc. with others, especially children, we are their guides. We are crone wisdom, right? Share it, speak it. Claiming my place on the dance floor, picking up my drum, and joining in the orchestration of creation. So maybe today calls for something creative. I am a rich well of nourishment for myself, and it only deepens the places from which I can draw by sharing it with others. Holy cow, this is a fabulous card. Inquiry. How can I share my experience so that it enriches both speaker and listener? How can I share my experience so that it enriches both speaker and listener? And you know what's interesting about that? I don't tend to read the Dear Abby Ann Landers stuff in the paper because sometimes it's just so painful. But there was one in there recently where a young woman wrote in about the struggles she was having communicating with her grandmother. And basically what she was saying is she's there with her kids to visit her grandma, So then we've got great grandma. She's great grandma to this woman's kids. And all the woman wants to do is tell her stories, tell her stories, tell her stories. And at one point, the granddaughter said, "Grandma, let me speak too." And grandma got upset about it, ends up writing to, I don't know if it was Dear Abby or Ann Landers, about basically she wants to share her stories before she goes. And the advice was, see if you can also share the floor. So rather than it being talking at this granddaughter, it is sharing. So it might be sharing a story and then saying, how's this relevant to you? How does this resonate for you? How does this fit in your life now? Things were different when I was at the age I was about the story I just told. What's relevant for you now? So let's practice that. It not just being the sharing of our story, but integrating that, finding out from the other person what in here is useful for you, if anything. Hopefully we don't find that those we're sharing our stories with can't see the value in them. See if you can also share the floor. Yes. And one of the things I've noticed recently, because I'm usually a pretty good listener, there's so much going on in my world that sometimes I feel like I'm just doing a dump job on friends. So that's a cue to me. Some additional self-care needs to be happening here so that it can go back to being a mutual sharing with friends instead of my head's about to blow off, I just have to unload, right? So, what are your thoughts on that card? The Spirit of Celestial Dream Speaking. To me, it certainly adds another layer of tools to addressing the disconnection that's represented here. So, as you ponder on this, as you go about your day, as thoughts come into your mind, maybe come back to our page and throw a few more thoughts on the page, or after you've lived with this for a day or two, maybe you come back to this YEMIG and add some feedback into the feed. What about this is resonating for you, continues to resonate for you? What are you noticing? So that is a shadow reading. I hope you found it helpful. Love to get some feedback, see what you think about it. Again, this is a little longer because we were dealing with multiple cards, but it feels like it was very, very useful. So have an awesome Sunday. Have an awesome Father's Day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.